very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the Human and AI Bridge, Strengthening Maritime Operation Safety and Efficiency, hosted by Orca AI, a tech company at the forefront of AI-driven maritime innovation, and NorthStandard, one of the world's leading marine insurance. Thank you for taking your time to come. Please give yourselves a round of applause, because today we have a good spread of audience here. And before I forget, let me introduce myself. I'm Cynthia. My day job, I solve digital problems in a port in Singapore, Jurong Port. My hobby, though, is talking about solutions and solving maritime problems at night as well. So yes, so this is something I do enjoy. So without further ado, right, today we're going to keep things short, simple, sharp, importantly, very practical. So we're going to have 3 presentations, and after which we'll have a panel discussion. Please, I would like to invite all of you to be as engaging as possible. Please do ask questions and all that. We'll be prompting for more questions. And our goal is very, very simple. What works? What doesn't work? AI is not here to replace the human. Human judgment is important to complement AI. And how can we make that work? So it's very simple. It's very practical. So without further ado, may I invite our first presenter for this evening. He has requested me to address him as Captain George, similar to George Clooney. So we have our own Maritime George Clooney coming up on stage. So, Captain George, please.
Just to make things clear, I didn't say anything about Clooney. Okay, for us that may not know Maritime Tankers, we are one of the biggest companies, shipping companies in Greece. I would say the biggest company as part of a group that now has 150 vessels. The Maritime Tankers has 54 large tankers in her fleet, 11 ships on order book. We are keeping the fleet in young and large. We are working with a number of people trying to keep up with the times, trying to maximize safety and efficiency. People like DNV, Lloyd's Register, ABS, One Ocean, Diamond Marine, a company that is doing STS, not operations, but reviewing, and Orca AI, and also a number of other people, we'll see. For instance, we work with Synthetica for monitoring and smart maintenance planning, DISE for port documentation, Kaiko trying to improve inspection, maintenance, monitoring, VMS integration, we have a number of projects going there, and Orca AI. Why we wanted something like Orca? And first of all, let's say that when we started working with Orca, the target was to improve the vessel's safety, help the bridge. Help bridge, why? This is the places where we operate. It does not show every vessel, of course, okay? Every week we have 1 or 2 vessels minimum calling China. Every week we have at least 1 vessel or 2 passing through Malacca Straits. The environment there, whatever else we might say, is at least, I will not say dangerous, it's demanding. And we have crew on board that have to work or have just worked a port, fatigued, no matter what people are saying, people on board are usually fatigued. And the same thing happening also in Malacca Strait. So we wanted something to help. And Orca was the solution that was apparent at that time. Apparent because we reviewed them, we saw what they were doing, and we thought that was a tool that would help. Come on, does not want to. Okay. On the beginning, I will have to say that was a simple system to install. It did not take a lot of effort, a lot of work to do it. We managed to do it between 24 to 36 hours. It's mainly a pod that has the cameras and installation on the bridge. So it's easy. It was very, very easy. And that was the results we were getting it. You will see the same view that the vessel was seeing with and without Orca. This is with nighttime Orca view. Come on, does not want. And this is what you would see with a day camera, what the people on board were seeing with their eyes. Big difference. That's in daytime. What you will see is that vessels that are dangerous for the vessel are marked differently than the other ones. You can get a very quick overview of what's happening around you. And you have the radar, you will say, yes, but the radar you have to monitor, you have to change it. You don't know when a vessel starts moving if you are passing through Singapore. And indeed, you get different information. That's a photo of what you can see approaching Singapore during the nighttime. What you can see on Orca. You can forget this, you can concentrate on the other ones, and you can have, as you approach, a better idea, a better picture of what they are doing. That was what we started with. Where is AI coming? In order to be able to present these things, in order to be able to present the picture to the vessel and use all systems available on board, it is using AI. Cupid? Come on. We are also getting, of course, additional use now out of Orca. We get monthly reports with insights. We know where the vessels are, we know where they have increased dangers. We know where and when we can try to improve things. And after 3 years, more than 3 years actually, of using Orca, we have shown improvement on the metrics we used. And getting even a very small improvement on navigation safety is not something easy these days. We have used Orca and the results from Orca to do things like change our instructions. A lot of our vessels are calling NIGBO. It is a very, very difficult area for those of you that have any idea about that thing. And we used the data we collected from Orca to change our policy, how to approach, at what speed, and when to go. We have improved what we are using, the metrics from 23 to 69%. And course over ground changes from 57 to 100%. It is not dramatic, not so something dramatic, but for the vessels and for the pressure on the crew and for the safety, it has been a big improvement. We believe that what makes us one of the best companies in Greece is that it's our people. And what we have been, what we're trying to do is help our people be even better at the very, very difficult work that they are doing on board the vessels. Thank you. If you have any questions, of course, I will be happy afterwards. And if you want to see me also privately, feel free to do it. Anyway, Karen will ask me to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain George, for that insightful presentation. Next up, we have another set of insights to be shared by our co-organizers itself from NorthStandard, Captain Eve.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am going to try and look at this from a little bit of a different perspective, and I want to showcase a little bit from the club side, how are we looking at technology, how are we looking at risks differently? What are we doing to try and use technology, whether it is for the members, for example, through the cooperation we have with Orca AI, or internally, how do we change our own systems and use the technology that is available? Now, we all know that risk profiles are changing. We have all the various traditional risks that we are aware of, which can be the crewing, it can be your operational side. And then we have all these new risks that are on the horizon, that are coming to us, whether it is the new fuels, whether it is geopolitics, whether it is regulations that are coming. How do we deal from a club perspective? How can we look at all the members that we insure, and how do we see the change in the risk profile that brings to us as a club? I mentioned some of these, and I'm not going to go into details in these. Environment is there. We know there's a big MEPC meeting coming up that is definitely going to bring some change with us. But if we look at the other side, what are the various future risks that are there? We have all the new fuels that are coming. How are we going to deal with this from a club's perspective? Then there is the technology. How is AI, for example, or other technology changing the risk profile for the club? How can we help our members deal with these items? Geopolitical situation, the training of the crew or the lack of the sufficient crew on board, and environment. So how can we get, or how can we use technology to help us with this? And I was reading an interesting report from TTIUS. This, I don't know if some of you might have read the report or have participated in the survey. This was done purely on AI, purely on maritime companies. And I thought it was interesting. The report showcases about 130 responses that were given. And in general, the sector, what they felt coming out of the report is that the sector is really curious about AI. How can they make use of it? But they're very cautious about it. They don't really want to jump into it. A very large percentage of the respondents were positive about AI. They said, okay, yes, this is something that can help us improve efficiency, can reduce the workload. So that those percentages were all very good. A lot of companies are running small-scale projects that came out of the report, but a very small, only 11% of companies actually have an AI policy in place and give guidance and training to their staff on how to use or what not to do with AI. A large percentage of people were feeling, yes, the human needs to remain in control here. We cannot let AI totally take over all the decisions. It can help us, but we need to remain in control on what decisions are being made. So what are then the main barriers that were coming out of that report? Loss of oversight, definitely a big concern that came out of this study, where people are worried that they will lose control over what is being done. Job displacement is a concern. Trust issues with the various vendors. This is something I personally can quite understand, because if you look around on LinkedIn or you just Google a little bit, the sheer amount of consultancy companies that are claiming that they know what AI is and how they can teach you how to do a proper prompt, I have trust issues as well. And then there is that mindset shift that basically needs to happen, where you are not just simply you need to be more than a passenger. You need to properly drive the projects. Skills and training is a problem where companies are not properly implementing sufficient training for their staff to be able to understand what AI is, how to use it. The governance part we have mentioned. Cultural resistance is there, where people are reluctant to accept what AI is telling them, or they're worried that if they do accept it and it turns out to be wrong, that they will be held liable for it. So these are all interesting things. How can you then put that forward? And this is something that from the club side we had quite a detailed look at as well. And interestingly, I do notice from the club we followed quite a lot of these same roadmap items. Shift away from technology. Of course, yes, you need the technology, it needs to be there. But if you want to properly implement it, you've got to focus on putting the governance in place, putting the culture in place, getting the staff on board, getting the training done for them so that they understand the proper use of it. Then the technology will automatically follow. Invest in specific tools. And I will give an example of that from the club side, where you tailor the AI to something that you really need. What is the solution that you want to achieve, and tailor your AI to that? And then the training part I mentioned as well. Get on board with your staff, talk to them, find out what is the reluctance, and get them over those emotions, talk them through it. Teach them how to do with things. Governance we've talked about, and get safe environment in place so that you have a sandbox version where you can work on the new technology. So looking at from the club side, what are some of the examples that we are doing where we are trying to use the technology to basically bring the ship and the shore closer together? We have our Get Set product portfolio, where, of course, Orca AI is one of the products that we support. But we also have the Globe View, our ACDIS training assessment, our collaboration with VPS fuel analysis, and our collaboration with Shipin that we have available. So we have this whole portfolio that we provide to our members to help them in various aspects that these products provide. But then internally, we have also created our own version of ChatGPT that we, well, I don't know who invented the word, called ChatNS. And it is a tool that is one of these vertical tools that I was talking about earlier. It is linked purely to our own internal database. So it looks at all of the claims information that we have, all the emails related to those claims. It looks at all of the previous loss prevention, cargo inquiries, guidance, regulations, etc. So it looks at all of that information internally, and we can interact with it exactly the same way as you interact with ChatGPT. It gives you a really good answer based on that internal information. Is that something that we would send out directly to you if you as a member are going to ask us? No, definitely not. But it'll be something that we use to create an answer for you. It allows us to search all of that information that we have available and provide a base for an answer to you. So that is an interesting development that we are continuing to work on. On the other hand, we are also working with one of our members on a claims project where there is a very high volume of claims, which are not always high in value, just high in volume. And we are working on a tool where the email notifications that we get from that member are automatically analyzed by AI. All the relevant data is taken out of that email. It automatically gets populated into our claim software. A claim gets created, and all the fields are being filled in by AI. So that is something that at the moment we are trialing, which is quite progressed. It works quite well, I think. And if that is successful, if that continues to work the way we want, I think that's fantastic. That'll help us reduce the amount of time required for our claims handlers to, it's not handling the claim, it's just simply setting up the claim into our system and filling in all the relevant data. We are also experimenting, I will say on this one, with doing contract reviews. From the club side, we quite often help our members do a review of a charter party for a specific reason. We are looking in how can we use AI to try and assist us with that review. Not that we totally want to leave it to AI again, but it'll help us. At the moment, results of this are quite mixed. I think doing contract review is a very specific skill that is required, and I think the lawyers that we employ are happy. They will definitely remain employed. AI is not going to take that away from them. But it is an interesting project because at least it allows us to try and experiment with different ways of using either technology or AI and see how it not just helps us internally, but also the members that we insure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Eve. I think very heavy topics condensed in a good 6 to 8 minutes. There are quite a few takeaways from the two presentations done by our two captains here. One is, you certainly cannot replace human intelligence with AI, but you can augment human capabilities using AI. Second, very key point on change management and governance structures are absolutely critical to make this come alive. Otherwise, it's pretty much nothing. I thought those were two really good takeaways for me. So we've heard from the customer standpoint, the partnership standpoint. Let's hear from the solution provider standpoint. So our last presentation before we go into the panel will be from Yaden from Orca AI itself.
Thank you. Before I start the presentation, I have to say something. I know Captain George, I call him Captain Asteros, by the way. I know Captain George from 2020, and Captain George is always was a tough guy. Coming all the time with demands and, where we need to improve and what we need to do. And for me, it was the first time I saw this presentation and seen it in live. So, and this was an amazing moment for me, I have to say, just showing that, and showing for us that we are in the right path, that we're doing what we need to do, and that all the time I'm telling, our team that is getting bigger and bigger now, all the time I'm telling them that, the shipping companies, the ship owners, they're not our customers, that they are our partners, and without them, we don't have the right to exist, to be here and to build the technology that we're building. So back to AI and what we do. So I want to share with you, AI, you have already experienced that. You have ChatGPT. You know a lot about how to use it. What we see now, I think, and this is the era, is that AI is getting more penetration into industries, and especially mission-critical industries like shipping. And I think this is where it becomes very exciting because it can create a lot of impact, right? So it can really improve how operation is being done and really solving a lot of critical points and critical problems a lot of industries have, and especially shipping. So I want to start just with a video that I don't know if some of you know already or some of you not, but this is a video, an unfortunate event that actually happened in the 10th of March 10th this year, North Sea, between Stena Mackillette, one of the vessels, and another vessel that actually collided. They were involved in a pretty major collision. You can see it here. Orca, by chance, and a lot of time people are asking me, no, we didn't stage it. It was by chance, was installed on a vessel, actually one of our customers, Ionic Shipping, nearby, and captured the entire event. And this just gives you a reflection on how technology, and especially AI, can be super helpful, how it can really change how the reality looks like in the most critical moments. So this is just to show you and to open the presentation, but I think what is more interesting is that the shipping industry is just going through more and more operational challenges. And Captain George talked about it as we get also new type of vessels, dual fuel vessels. I talked with Sachin about it. There is a shortage of experienced crew member, and there is more overload and workload on board the vessels that creating a lot of the fatigue and cognitive load. And this is something that is just getting worse and worse over time. Waterways and ports are just getting more congested. You have more ships around the world. You have more fishing vessels around the world. And we see it in the data. Waterways are just becoming more congested, especially in the places where Captain George shared, over China area, Straits of Malacca, English Channel. A lot of those areas are just becoming more intense. And of course, the shortage in crew. And when you think about it, those type of challenges, those are the challenges that AI is built to solve. AI is not here to solve any challenge. But when it comes to automate parts of the process, automate part of the workload, take the tedious tasks, for example, watchkeeping, looking outside for hours, and automate this part and elevate the performance, this is where AI can really excel. So a part of that, I want to share with you today a study that we did. This is, by the way, first time we're presenting that. A study that we did with NorthStandard on a fleet, a pretty sizable fleet, that we measured over time how Orca and AI impacted the safety of the vessels, and we could actually quantify it. Okay, so the purpose of the study was to see how the impact, and to see if there is an impact, but in a quantifiable way, objective way, of an Orca AI seaport system on board the fleet of vessels over time, and to see what is going to be the impact on the safety. So we took a measurement, okay, and we said, okay, let's measure, it's very hard to measure incidents, right? But let's measure something that is close enough, like close encounter events and near misses. But let's take the ones who are more severe, okay? So this is the comparison framework that we said, okay, let's take a fleet of vessels over a period of the first 3 months that are using Orca, and then let's compare them for the last 3 months of the year. And then let's look at the key metric of average monthly high severity close encounter, which we defined it by the CPA TCPA, by the COLEGS compliance, by the type of vessels, and by the density. So of course, if you're sailing in Straits of Malacca and you have a close quarter event of 3 cables, 4 cables, it's not a real dangerous event. It's not high severity. But if you have an open ocean, and then you have a bow crossing from 3 cables or 5 cables, this becomes a pretty high severity event. So this is how we're defining high severity event. We cleaned off all the events that are not in high severity, all the ones that are in medium severity. For example, a tugboat, pilot vessels that are coming nearby. Of course, this is not even an event. And based on that, we build the benchmark. And then we actually looked on those vessels over time. We measured 107 container vessels across the fleet, which is equivalent to 116 ship years. So that's quite a lot, and they traveled over this time 8 million nautical miles. So we have enough data, we have a big data set, it's objective, it's quantifiable, we build it in the right way. First time, by the way, in Maritime, that we can actually measure something like that, and this is thanks to connectivity, thanks to the ability to collect data in scale, you are able to do that, and to be able to actually see how AI is impacting safety, and these are the results. So we looked at the early period, okay, the average number of high severity events per vessel, okay, per month was 3.3, across the entire fleet, and over the 4 quarters time frame, we see a massive reduction of 58% to 1.4 events, high severity events in those areas. So super interesting study that we did. It's normalizing a lot of the problems of different weather conditions, different ports, because you have so many vessels over so much time, everything is being normalized. And it's just great to see that. We're starting to take even more and more data and see how like granular data and how the impact is going to even achieve in specific areas, in specific weather conditions, specific crews, and it's going to be very, very exciting. So we're continuing measuring that. And let's take a quick look towards the future as well, because we're building AI today that is already impacting the operations, but constantly we're collecting data in order to build the future, and the future eventually will go towards more automation. I hate to say autonomy because when I say autonomy, people think about unmanned vessels, so this is not the case. When I say automation, it's basically taking parts of the voyage and automate them. We're working with NYK on a very interesting project. I'm flying to Japan tomorrow to speak about it. And basically there we're building the first autonomous car carriers with them. That's going to be delivered next year. Now again, the crew will be there on board the vessels, but in certain conditions, in certain cases, also based on what the regulation allows today, the platform, the AI platform, will be able to take control over the vessel to optimize the voyage and to do collision avoidance maneuvers. So that's super interesting. So just how it looks. This is the vision towards how we see it. So there's going to be different layers of autonomy levels. Of course, when the vessel is docking, this is level number one. Nothing is automated. This is the most crucial part. You need the highest cognitive level, so this is why you let humans doing that. But once the vessel is departing the dock, then it goes to higher level of autonomy. And this is level 2, decision support. Decision support that helps the crew to take better decisions in the most crucial ways. And once the vessel is going into the open ocean, then the level of autonomy will be able to go up to level 3 and level 4, where it's actually taking control, it's optimizing the voyage, it's taking all the data inputs, either from the cloud, either from other ships, about weather conditions, port congestions, fishing areas, and based on that, optimizing the vessel voyage constantly until it reaches another critical point. And when there is a critical point, the crew will override the decisions, and they will take back manual control to where they need. And of course, this is another something that we're building, the ability for ships to share information between one another about weather information, for example. So this is also a part of that. This is how we're building the roadmap towards Orca. It's a long process of doing that. It's not in one day, because you need multiple stakeholders to do that, not just building the technology. You need to understand how to build it around the people. The people are the most important part. They're going to still stay there, and they need to know how to operate in those type of conditions. You need to work with the regulations, of course. And that's super exciting. Eventually, all the data is being shared in real time back to the mission control that captures the data, optimize it, share insights if needed, yeah, they're doing it, taking the industry to the next steps, basically. Now the vessel is entering back to the port, and gradually the level of autonomy will start going down. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Yarden. I thought that was a very good insight on practical applications. It's great that the container world has evolved so fast and so good and so significant. My hope is the uncontainerized world also does the same. I come from bulk. So we hope to keep pace with the container world as well. All right, so that's hope in transition. And with that, right, we are like 45 minutes away from drinks. So we are going to be ending off with a panel discussion, and this is where all of you are going to play a part. So as the hotel staff are arranging the chairs and all that, today our panel discussion is going to cover a few topics. We're going to be discussing about operations today itself. How can AI come into play, and how does that impact operations? What are some of the critical success factors and the decision metrics to be used for that? as well as on ethical responsibilities, ethical topics on trust and responsibility. I thought that was a very good point raised during the presentations itself. Yeah, I don't trust AI actually. Yeah, I don't trust people very easily too. Yeah, it's human nature, right? So how do we address that? And also, a very critical question, which I've been talking about from the beginning, it keeps me awake at night, is also ROI. How do we measure that effectively? So without further ado, may I invite our panelists. We have Sachin from Eastern Pacific Shipping. To stage, please. Captain George from Maritime Tankers. Harriet from NorthStandard. And Yaden from Orca. Very nice, cozy stage setting. So we'll, we'll keep it very nice and cozy. I hope all of you are comfortable. All good? Okay. All right, I'll dive straight into the questions. Let's not waste any more time because I think our audience would be awaiting some answers and they must have a lot of questions in their heads too, right? We'll cover on the first theme about operations today. And these are very practical questions that need to be raised to Sachin, right? Yep. First question over to you. We'll start from the first over to this side. How do you decide which innovations to put on a life bridge first? And what operational proof do you need before scaling fleet-wide?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. First of all, I think thanks to Captain George to share the input on how they are handling it. And so the first thing is when you do into new technology, with the EPS group, we have about 140 new builds on order. And we have been taking deliveries of 25 ships every year for the last 5 to 6 years. So that gives us an opportunity to try out new technologies, innovations, new fuels in that stage. So the first step goes in is the feasibility. You know, you have a lot of solution providers, a lot of technologies which come in, and they all offer a lot of promising solutions to the existing problems. So we take a very holistic approach, and somebody has to believe in the technology or the solution what they're providing. So we do the feasibility study, we put it on board, we invest the money and the human resource. You know, we have Captain Nabo is here, Captain Prasad is here. We have a lot of team members who spend a lot of time working together with the providers such as Orca AI, and they look into what is the technology, what it can do, how does it interface with the existing equipment. If you have been on a bridge of a ship, right, it's already a very congested environment. There's a lot of things we already are looking at. And then we add one more monitor for the ship staff. And we say that now you have to look at this, it's supposed to help you. And he's like, don't I have enough to look at? So that's where the bridge comes. And not the bridge of the navigation bridge, the bridge between the service provider, the vessel, the staff, and the office team, which works hand in hand with the solution providers to keep improving, innovating the solutions, you know. Because the product has been made by, like if AI, you look at Orca AI, it's an idea which was made, and I'm sure Yaden will confirm that it is not what he started. It has evolved on a daily basis to what we see today. So that is where we think is the approach we need to take. That somebody has to take the leap of faith and say, okay, let's try. So that puts us in a place where we try a lot of new technologies, and we are okay to have a few failures as well. Not all the equipment we put on board, all solution providers work well. So I think that's the first part. And the second, you said, what's the functionality which we continue with it? I think that's the interfacing of the new equipment or new solution with the existing setup. We spoke about fatigue and cognitive fatigue, and so the thing here is, we want to help the team by improving the efficiencies, but that's going to be a period where there will be a parallel where it's going to increase the workload on them. So we try to manage that part very well to support them with extra hands and share with them the outlook, why are we doing what we are doing? And then from there, we take the technology and continuously check how does it interact with the existing equipment, what is the interface, there was a very good point where the SMS change has been done. There is a point where there's TCPA, CPA, is it same at sea or it's in congested waters? So all that process goes into building it up, testing it again, trying it, going back and reviewing it again to see, is it giving the results which we want? And if not, what can be done? Do we need to go back to the drawing board? Do we need to make some fine tunes? Or it needs a drastic correction in the course we are going on? So I think that's a very process-oriented, where EPS, we focus on a process we put into play from feasibility to end result, and then it also depends on the partners we choose, because they have to amend the product or the solutions they are providing, which might not be in their plans, but they will have to ramp up and they need support on that part. So I think that's what the key is, to continual improvement and support to see whether the product is going to give you the results.
I like the point on taking that leap of faith and having a process-oriented approach to measure that leap of faith. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, see, because we understand that shipping is from one ship owner to a few hundred ships owner, there is it's a very big community. So not everybody has that resource or that mindset to change. At EPS, we have a Life at Sea program. The Life at Sea program is actually focused on the well-being of the ship staff. So there is no point, I say that's what I saw even Captain George mentioned, that the seafarer is the center of it. Without the seafarer, there is no ship. Without the ship, there is no office. So the Life at Sea program is not only looking at how we can give them, maybe better shore leave or better salaries. It's about their living conditions, where they are sleeping, give them a good gym, give them healthy veggies, fresh vegetables to give. Then fatigue, we talk about fatigue. So you are putting another equipment on that ship. So you need to be aware that this ship need an extra hand to assist the captain to give a fair judgment. And we have seen this through the feedback forms, right? It's very good. They get 10 on 10 sometimes. But even the service provider is like, I can't accept this, it's too much, right? But it is just that they want to get it out of the way and just go out of the way. So I think that's where it comes, the Life at Sea program. And that's why we started using Orca AI. It's like, we are not looking to replace the equipment. We are just trying to give another tool to the master and his team to be able to use as and when they want. We are not going to force them to use, and we're not going to say, we will reduce one watchkeeper and say, you have Orca AI or you have a navigation tool, we'll reduce one person. No. We are trying to maintain the same level of manning and give them something additional, which they can rely on, which helps them to take the load off. So I think that's where the key in our mindset of EPS goes into the play.
Thank you for that sharing. On that note, right, let's talk about operational risk. And Captain George, over to you, right? What are the two operational risks that keep you up at night right now? And what has been the significant change that you have seen in the past year?
Okay, the main thing I have at all times in my mind is safety. Why? If a fleet, especially a fleet like ours, which is a tanker fleet, does not have and cannot prove that it is safely operated, we are out of the market. Okay, we are always looking, of course, to get a return on the investment that we have made through the years. You lose one tanker, you lose a second tanker, you forget everything. So I'm operations director, and my mindset is on safety. Everything we do, every option we take, we'll have to make sure that we maintain this safety. And that's a very, very difficult thing to balance between equipment and people. If people do not accept the equipment you give them, they are not going to be useful. And especially if we think that the equipment we're giving them will help them, but in fact, they are hydrants in their day-to-day work, it will not be helpful. And finally, fatigue. No matter what we give them, if they are not able to operate it because they're totally fatigued, it's going to be a bigger problem than an assistance. The industry, okay, we don't have here any charters or something like that. The industry in general has lost, I think, a lot of the way. We manage every day to do the same job we did 10 years ago by doing 10 times more work. I'm not quite sure this helps in safety, but that's the way industry works. Our industry is it's a bit crazy. So I think from operational view, anything that improves and helps crew perform their work, and no matter what they say, I come from Greece, we don't have a big problem with available crew. Okay. From that side, we're okay. Do we have a problem with training? No, we don't have a problem with training. I'm at sea since 1980. Believe me, today's crew are likely better trained and more able to do their work than they were 40 years ago. What do we have? We have different situations, different conditions, and different demands. And the demands do not always help. And the pressure on the crew is getting worse and worse. Where AI can help us, weather can help us improve on that thing, it's still to be seen. But we are looking at things that do assist. Orca AI is one thing. We hope to have other solutions in the near future that do not expand the demands on the crew, but assist them carry out what we want out of them.
Thank you so much, Captain George. If we weren't crazy, we would not have internationalized shipping. Maybe we would not even be here. I love the fact that we are crazy, but yes. But resonate totally with you, because not just from a crew perspective, even from a port perspective, fatigue and safety are topmost concerns that we have as well, especially on the workers. So totally resonate with your messages as well. So the next question is more for Yaden. So it's more of a practical application question, right? From your onboard deployments, what's that one everyday workflow where AI has already become indispensable?
Today, I don't think we're there yet, to be honest. I think we're getting there. I think it's a process. For us, it took, we've been working with Maran since 2021. For us, it was a lot of work that we've been done together in order to make sure that we know how to incorporate Orca in the day-to-day workflow, so the crew will know how to use it. They're not going to create resistance because for them it's the easiest. Just let's continue to do what we know how to do for many years. Let's resist to the technology. And by that, they don't even understand the value. So we did a lot of work to make sure that we are providing the training to the crew so they know how to use it. They know that where are the limitations as well. So we're setting the expectations there. We're measuring how they're using it, so every engagement, and then we know if they're using it correctly or not, and based on that, providing even more training. So I think it's a never-ending process in a way until it's going to be a mature market, but we're not even close to becoming a mature market. We're just starting to see more technologies coming in. So I think here to put the people and the crew, and this is just echoing, what Sachin and Captain George said, it's putting the crew in the middle, in the focus, because they are who are the important. We are creating value for them, and we are trying to make their life easier or to increase their performance. So for that, you need to put them in the center and put the processes in line to make sure that they know how to utilize the technology and get the value out of it.
I like the very pragmatic answer because I do agree with you. We are still at very nascent stages in terms of AI implementation in the industry. You want to compare us to the logistics sector, which is quite adjacent. They have gone far ahead of us. So there's really room to grow and work to do here. Now, this is for all of you. It's a show of hands, okay? So just a show of hands. Of all these, fuel, maintenance, safety, crew workload, which is the quickest, highest return win right now? So I'll repeat, you raise your hand to either fuel, maintenance, safety, crew workload. So who says fuel?
You said return on investment, right?
Yeah. Fuel. Great.
I'll tell you why, because all the others are baseline.
All others are baseline.
So from EPS perspective, right?
Yeah.
Safety is a given, right? It's a baseline. You can't look at a return on investment on safety. I mean, then you are looking at whether you invest or not. But if you are not investing in safety, is a given. It should be our baseline in our perspective.
Okay. Good answer, right? Do all of you agree?
I agree.
Looks like we have a unanimous answer here.
I think just in terms of fuel, there's less culture, less people involved, so it's an easier win. I don't even know if this is on. It's an easier win for trick for young players. It's a much easier win than some of the other pieces. You're not dealing with people so much. You're probably dealing with more of the mechanics. So I think fuel.
Nice answer. Yeah.
But I think in this respect, if you look at the presentation from Captain Yevs, right? The challenge with fuel is not it's not a vehicle that you pump instead of diesel. You pump petrol into it, or you put biofuel into it.
All right.
You have everything has to be done by a human involved. The person who's on a ship, and this goes to the point that if what Captain George made about training, right? If you are still operating a conventional ship, which was a two-stroke engine, Wärtsilä or MAN, yes, it's still the same. But the moment you have, like EPS, we have more than 50% of our fleet is dual fuel. And we have not one. We have LNG, we have VLAC, we have LPG, we have biofuel. So that brings in the next challenge of training the staff on the newer technology. Not only the technology from innovation point of view, have more electronics and items. It also brings in the new challenge of having a bulk carrier ship staff handle LNG on that ship, because it's totally different ball game from having a LNG tank on a bulk carrier and having the same people who are handling a ship without fuel, only heavy fuel in tanks, in sealed. It's a different challenge to handle. So we think it is the next challenge will be finding people who can be trained and ready for the newer technologies as fuel. And that's where I think Captain Yevs touched it, very relevant point there. That's the challenge going to be the next one, finding the people who can handle this new technology and new fuel.
All right, thank you for that very elaborate answer, right? From that theme, I think we've gotten enough insights on operations today. We'll move on to the next theme on trust and responsibility. And this question is for Harriet. I'd like to introduce Harriet, right? She's the rose here, female panelist over here. She is a change management expert and agent. She's dealing with technology implementations, innovation, solutions itself in NorthStandard. So her perspective comes from a very different angle, right? We are surrounded by shipping experts in the room, all right? So it's great to hear a fresh perspective on AI upskilling. So the question for you, Harriet, is how do we effectively prepare and upskill our workforce to move from reactive manual roles to becoming strategic, okay, the word AI supervisors, or human-in-the-loop decision makers?
Yeah, so thanks very much for having me. I think any decisions around particularly upskilling needs to be done within the context of the major paradigm shift that this is. If you think about people that have been at sea for 20 years, they've been doing things fairly similarly, you know, some technology changes, but nothing like the shift we're going to go through with AI. So I think any kind of design of training and upskilling has to be done with that in mind, first of all. So I think there's probably 3 areas. I think, first of all, you've got your basic AI literacy. So nobody's going to turn your crew members into data stewards, and they don't need to be data stewards. But they do need to understand how to use the AI and how it can be helpful. And probably even more important is what the limitations of that AI system are, so when not to use it. So they need to understand what data it's ingesting, what data it's not ingesting, what the issues are in terms of hallucinations, false positives, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a piece around AI literacy. There's a second piece around this, the comment that you made about being the human in the loop and understanding that there is still such a big role for humans to play. Nobody, I think everybody said, we're not out to replace all humans on the ships. There is still, even when you're talking about the autonomous ships, or moving towards autonomy, the autonomous ships, I shouldn't say autonomy, or autonomous ships, there's still a role for the crew to play. And so it's sort of trying to train them up to understand how the AI will produce a recommendation, but the decision still lies with them, and that decision needs to take into consideration the context of things like regulation, ethical constraints, you know, human factors, the things that the machine won't take into consideration. And I think the third thing is around critical thinking. So a lot of people have done a much more procedural role. They've sort of been the doers. They've had a procedure, they've had a process, and they've followed it through. And now we're moving towards, as you've said, there's sort of the judge of an AI output. And so they need to be taught to question why. So why did an AI recommend a certain outcome? And what else should be considered alongside that? So there's this big piece around critical thinking, and that's the sort of the attraction of AI. You know, when we're selling it, we're trying to sell it as a piece that allows us to do more of that critical thinking, more of that higher cognitive value add type of thinking to our crews. And so that's what I would recommend, is those 3 kind of aspects, but all in this context of understanding how far some people are going to have to come in their journey towards AI.
But by the way, just to echo on that, I think what we're going to start seeing is that some of the AI models will have explainability inside of them, so they're going to be more explainable AI. And this is exactly going back to the critical thinking, because you get an output from AI, and then you need to judge it. Sometimes you don't know why the output came in this way. So a lot of companies, very big companies, are actually building now models that's going to be more explainable, and this is specifically for corporate type of judgments and decision making, and especially also for mission critical industries.
I think that's a very good good perspective shared on critical thinking. I really loved your view on data stewards, taking it a notch simpler and making it very practicable, still checking all the boxes on what a data steward really does. So data is not really something that's required to be technically inclined. Data is everywhere. It is everyone's responsibility. It's how you define it to match that current role. And I thought that was fantastic. Now, my favorite question, typically, that we like to ask for solution providers from a solution provider standpoint goes to Yarden, right? How do you deal with the skeptics? Those skeptics that actually struggle to see the value of AI? And the second follow-up to that is, what should solution providers, or in this case vendors, really change to build up that confidence quickly?
Yeah, I think that the answer is to listen as much as you can, and try to understand where the skepticism is coming from, and then go around it. It can be like we had in the beginning, with skepticism that sometimes the product didn't work as expected. So you need to understand that, listen where are the gaps, fill up the gaps, but also set expectations from the beginning. We see, I used to see a lot of skepticism just because the industry wasn't there yet, right? And I think now what I see is that the industry is going through this transformation. It's still a process, still in the early days. I see less skepticism, and I see that people are a little bit more open-minded. And also the crew, that's pretty amazing. We had the situation where we have, so one of our customers is C-SPAN, and we installed that on a big part of the fleet, and then we started working with another customer in Scandinavia, and we did a training to the captain, and then the captain said, yeah, I'm like, my son is working in C-SPAN, he used to, like he's using Orca for a lot of time, and he's coming, like, you know, when we're having dinner and stuff like that, he's talking about the technology and where it's helpful, and he just waited to the moment that, you know, Orca is going to be installed on my ship. So you see, like, you know, there is like a place where it's starting to be more open, and, you know, they want to attract new type of technology. And I think this is something unique about this industry, that, you know, either, you know, it's in a way, it's small, and people are staying in you know, their job for a long time. So either if you do, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can burn yourself very quickly, or if you do the right work, if you listen, if you learn and getting better, I think then it's starting to spread, and I think that's where we are today.
Thank you for sharing that. That also brings about another question that I had in mind, actually, that's on building trust. And that's to Captain George. All right, how do you build trust between our human in the loop with our decisions support-making tools?
First of all, by making sure that he is the human in the loop and he's making the decisions. I don't know whether Yarden wants me to say it. They are doing a new change in Orca, and they're calling it co-captain. I told him, don't put it on any of our ship under this name.
Yeah, by the way, as mentioned, we are listening, and we are thinking about a new name now.
We have a real-life example going on here.
Yeah, we're thinking about then there's going to be a new name coming up.
For Orca, okay. For our fleet, we went very, very slowly. We just put it on board, gave them the opportunity to work with it, and it took me more than a year before asking them their comments and how they would like to use it. And after 3 years, I told them that I can see what they see. So it takes a lot of time, but you have to keep the man in the loop.
Really, really practical. The man in the loop can never be replaced. And that's how you need to always rely on the man in the loop as the key decision driver in order to build that trust so that it doesn't replace human judgment. And now we move on to the next theme, right? Because we are still short for beers, so let's just... This is on maybe to Sachin. It's a lot about enablement here. So what helps the crew to act quickly on digital alerts or decision support queues?
So I think if you rewind back to the two questions, I wanted to pitch in on those two things. So the critical thing, we keep talking about ship staff. But I think the key to all these deliverables lies with somebody in the organization who's ashore, who takes accountability, and who understands the system and process as good as the supplier or the provider. And I will take Captain Nabo is there, if you can raise your hand, and Mr. Rana Dev is there. So there are two different segments of, one is a captain and a navigation expert, and another one is an electronics and electrical expert. But without both of them, we cannot install and execute Orca AI on any of the ships. So empowering the person on the ship, right, is when he looks at, the navigation skill is already there. He's a competent seafarer. He has been a master mariner for long years. And the important thing, which I think Captain George also says about co-captain, is that we want to re-emphasize that we are giving you a tool to assist and make your life more easier and not burdening you saying that, oh, you had Orca AI also and you did not do this. So I think the most important thing here is actually empowering the people on that ship to decide how do they want to use that equipment. By setting and making a box that you must do this, because we have installed this, might not be the best practices. You can give them a best practices, give them guidance, what they need to do, but at the end of the day, the person on the watch has to feel that he or she has the decision, final say in what to do with the information is being provided. So that's, I think, very important if you want to make it a success. And the reason why I emphasize that somebody in the organization who's ashore needs to take is the people on the ship are going from A ship to B ship, and then there is a turnaround on the ship where you're doing your trial, like Captain George said. I think we also did about a year or two with few ships, and then you will get mixed bag of opinions. You'll have one person who's maybe tech savvy, and he comes and he's like you gave an example of a father and son. It's like having an iPhone with a father and having a son with an iPhone. It's different experience of that iPhone. You can still use it just to make phone calls, but your son might come and tell you how he can make you look younger or older or whatever it is, right? He uses an AI app to make you, winning a cup or sitting on a panel, right? So that's where I think is the key, is that you need to give it time and collect enough data to be able to make a decision. But accountability should rest with the office team, so that is one way of telling the ship staff that you're not burdened about it. It is not your responsibility to make it a success or a failure. So that's the approach, I think, and Nabo, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's what we used. We try to understand it ourselves first, use it in the office, and if we like it, then we assist the masters on the ship and do the training by our team. Instead of asking, every time we ask them to send somebody to do training, we try to do it ourselves. So we also learn the system, and then we give him the concept, you're not good at this, good at this. So I think that's what Captain Nabo has been doing for a longest period right now.
Self-enablement first, then get the solution provider to improve on the model. Excellent, excellent. Now, on that note, right, comes another question that I would like to ask Harriet. I like the music, the ringtone. It's a good break in between.
I think that's his alert AI telling him that it's time for beers.
I am sure. So this comes about, to Harriet itself, with your experience in change management and implementing solutions. All right, one of the critical barrier to realizing, ROI evaluation is one thing. That's the easy part, right? It's about realizing that ROI that you've put on paper to management is actually human resistance. So in your experience, in your view, what would be the best change management lever that a fleet operator can take away?
Yeah, you couldn't have set me up more perfectly between your answer and the ringtone. You can train a crew all you want. You can have a list, you tick everybody on that list, but when push comes to shove in a critical moment, they probably will revert back to what they know unless you instill a culture change. And culture change should be in every change program. We're not just talking about AI, we're talking about any kind of change program that you're implementing. You need to include culture change. And I think that I've got notes because I feel really passionate about this. So I think the first thing is this thing around the recognizing what shift this is. As I said before, resistance comes from fear. and the fear that people will be replaced. So we've talked about master mariners, they've got a set of skills, they see AI coming in. It's this emphasis of their skills are becoming even more valuable, their experience, their intuition. They will be more valuable with this concept of the human in the loop than previously, and it's emphasising that piece. I think secondly, it's around, you said it, putting the seafarer at the centre of this, understanding the intent. We're not implementing AI just to say we've implemented AI. You have to identify a problem that you're trying to solve. You have to understand what the benefit of solving that is, and then really create advocates among your crew. If your captains advocate for the system, they will be followed, their crew will follow them in the use of this system. The third thing is recognising this tension between the onshore and the offshore staff. So often when we implement technology, I think there can be rumblings that it's a bit of a spying tactic. You know, we want to keep an eye on the onshore, want to keep an eye on what the people on the boat are doing and making sure that they're doing the right things at the right times. And if they're not, then they'll be pulled up on it. But really we have to kind of create this understanding of how they can collaborate on these tools. So that the onshore staff have to sort of hold back from interfering. The day-to-day running of a ship has to remain the responsibility of those on the ship. In fact, your onshore crew, the usefulness of this is at a fleet level. It's not at an individual ship level. It's looking at the trends that you put up and kind of being able to assess those trends and the analysis at that level, not probably I mean, obviously if a ship's doing something it absolutely shouldn't, then that's probably quite useful, but it's sort of trying to understand and put in place really strong processes that show where the handoff is between not just AI and humans, but AI, humans on the ship and humans onshore, and where do those responsibilities lie. And the final thing is around experimentation. And I haven't been in shipping for all that long. I'm not sure shipping is known, particularly as an experimental industry. So it's about trying to create an environment, as you say. Is it about rolling it out to a couple of ships first? Is it about setting up simulations onshore? Is it about scenario planning? But allowing people to fail and allowing that feedback loop to be created, where when you're putting the crew at the centre of it, you implement something and they come back and they say, you know what, this isn't actually working for us. Then working with your providers and working with your onshore team to make sure that you are creating something that does benefit them and does make their life easier. And that, you know, the sort of corny phrase, but it's a badge of honour, or it's something to celebrate if a crew fails, or not if they run into a ship like we saw on there, but that, you know, if they do report back and give feedback, that's celebrated, not, they don't feel like they'll be you know, hung out to dry if they say, I don't like this tool, it's not working for us. So those are probably the four things, but culture change has to be at the centre of it.
I think in a world where we are so driven by making sure the models work, your perspective on the softer touch on culture and understanding competencies brings a refreshing perspective as well. You're absolutely right. I may be shot down right after this if I say it, but I'll say it anyway. We're a bunch of skeptics in the
You know, carbon was something said HFO will never be. We phased it out. We have moved into dual fuel. We've gone into different fuels. So I think shipping can be skeptical, but I think also has the tendency to find solutions to every problem thrown at it. So I think we should think positive once in a while and say shipping is positive.
Can I just say one comment on decision making in AI? I think you hear that a lot when you're talking about AI, is that AI will help people make better decisions and make smarter decisions. But we need to be very clear when we use the phrase decision making, because the AI isn't the one making the decision. The benefit that AI brings is that it creates multiple scenarios that potentially a human by themselves wouldn't think of. So it just gives the human more to think about. So that phrasing, I just wanted to make that point in terms of, you hear a lot of AI and decision making is to your point, we just need to keep those separate.
I think it's a very good context setting. I can understand and resonate a little bit, Yarden, why he struggles to answer this as well. You have an answer now?
I have an answer, yeah.
All right, what's your answer?
From a technical perspective as well, I think like AI is very efficient in a very specific spectrum that less than that you don't need so much computational power, and it's like more simple statistical questions that a simple equation will solve it, and then use AI is just like, it's too much. It's going to be more, it's going to be costly, it's going to take longer, because running an AI model and training the AI model, you need data. So for simple tasks, you don't need AI. Very simple tasks. And for much higher level tasks where it's actually replacing in congested waterways, in doing docking, or in, let's say, severe weather situation, this is where you don't want to use AI because the cost of an error is too big. So you want to hire intelligence to actually take control and do what they need to do. So this spectrum, I think, is exactly where AI can be a decision support system, help the crew in hard scenarios, but then also reduce the workload in more tedious tasks that are very simple.
I think it's a very pragmatic answer, right? Having the cost element in the picture when it doesn't make sense at all, and in terms of complexity. Yeah, so now let's ask the audience. It's your turn now. So before you, you can raise your hands, and then we'll give a mic over to you. Please state your name and the organization you come from, and please feel free to raise your questions. Otherwise, I'll be calling out people. Oh, great. We have first volunteer.
The in-house expert of UPS.
Ah, all right.
So, no, I didn't plant. That's what we wanted to say, that, we don't need people to ask. They are all trained to ask questions.
Love it.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. By the way, just wanted to ask one question to Yarden about, with respect to legal perspective. We have come across situations where ships have gone inside the port and we have been asked to turn off the cameras or turn in the cameras. So, that's the quickest way or the quickest solution we normally adopt to get into a situation with the port. But have you actually worked around in legal terms where we come across such situations and we don't have to really switch off cameras or turn off Orca and lose things, where what it's supposed to do?
Interesting question. So we didn't have many incidents where customers came to us and said that we needed to close the cameras, but of course, if this is the requirement from the port, I think this is something that needs to be done. I start seeing also a little bit different type of a trend. Also, for example, if you look at the Indian ports that now say that you're required to put CCTV cameras when you get inside the port. I can understand that if you come into a place where it's a military port, for example in China or in the US, then there is higher sensitivity. In this case, it might need to close it for some scenarios. I agree with you that specifically inside the port, you want Orca to be monitored. You wanted to monitor the environment, and we had many cases like that where you had disputes, or customers had disputes with the port or with other ships inside the ports because a lot of small things are happening there, like the fender bender, like a contact with another vessel, and then the disputes are happening. We have actually now 2 customers, both of them with Orca, that are disputing inside the port, and because they had some contacts, so they're using the visual information as an objective evidence to what happened there.
Yes, we have another. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for the question. Yes.
Hi, I'm also Captain George, but I'm from the Eastern Pacific Shipping, and I'm not a skeptic. So I can definitely see in a matter of 2 to 3 years, let's say 3 years before I would, write an email, I would think, and then I would write that email, and it would take me 5-10 minutes depending on the content of the email. Now I would just put it in Copilot, and yeah, the email is ready. My question is, more maybe for the club, because they deal with a lot of cases. let's say there's a collision, right, between two ships. And one of the ships, had standard SOLAS equipment. And the other ship, had AI equipment also. When the blame is apportioned between these vessels, how is that done? In the sense, is there any relevance at all on whether the ship which had AI, whether it used AI or did not use AI, will that affect the apportionment of blame in the case of a collision?
Okay, first of all, I will caveat this by saying I am no way either a claims expert or an underwriter. However, as per the comment on the previous question, having Orca AI is a bit like having a dash cam. If you're in a car accident, you have a visual representation of exactly what happened. But I don't think having Orca AI is going to be the reason that you get apportioned less or more blame. I think it would follow through the usual, or at this stage, I can't talk what will happen, in however many years, but at this stage, it would follow through the similar process that you would go through now. However, obviously, if you can present visual evidence from Orca AI or another type of provider, then that's going to benefit you. Does that answer it?
Hope that satisfies the answer for the optimist in the crowd. Yes. Glad to see an optimist. I'm sure there are more. It was just being controversial, so yes. All right, any other questions? Yes? Oh, good, it's evening out. 2 here, 1 there, 1 more from there, please.
So my question is a follow-up on this question. So when ACDIS was coming in, there was concern about ACDIS-aided collisions. And with Orca AI, in case of a court of law, in case of an incident, somebody proves that, this was because of the malfunctioning of Orca AI, and guys were not looking out, or they were not looking at ACDIS, but looking at this equipment. So how do we tackle that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, Orca is not a collision avoidance system. It doesn't replace the radar, it doesn't replace the ACDIS. You need to do the process, or the crew, they need to do the process as they do when they're taking decisions about collision avoidance. It's an aid for navigation. It's coming to help. But eventually the responsibility is on the OOW, it's on the master to take the decision based on the main collision avoidance systems. Well, in many cases there will be enough. In other cases, there is a supplement of another layer of data that will help them to take better decision.
Yeah, 1 more question? Maybe it'll take about 2, 3 questions. Yeah.
Hi, Gaurav from PCL. Just to follow up on this, I think as far as the apportionment and the blame is concerned, we are very clear that the IMO or the regulatory equipments fitted on board will take precedence. VDR is one of them in cases of incidents where VDR data is an official record. I'm sure, and I've checked it out with legal that Orca AI is just an aid, and we cannot depend on Orca sort of an additional tool to come in handy as far as in case of investigation, yes, but blame apportionment, no. Just to clarify this. And secondly, I wanted to ask Yarden, what do you do with the data? As we saw with MTM, there's an immense amount of data collected in 2-3 years and follow. It's company specific, I believe so. But when it comes to innovation and upgrading, are you using this data to enhance the AI engine?
Of course. That's the flywheel effect. Well, you have more ships, you have more data, you have better performance, then you get better adoption. So I'm sure, Captain George can say, give a comment about that or no, but the solution that he saw in 2021 when he started using Orca on his ships, it's quite different from where it is today. in terms of the performance capabilities, but also the variety of things that you're able to do today. I think that we are now in the stage where we have enough density where co-captain, just for now until we find the right name. Yeah, co-pilot is becoming, it's something that is becoming more interesting where, and by the way, we took the inspiration from the aviation industry where airplanes can communicate today with one another and can share, for example, turbulence information from one place to another, from one airplane to another, and this is really improving safety. So imagine that a vessel is entering bad weather or unauthorized fishing area in the middle of China in the middle of the night, or unexpected congestion. This data can be super useful for other vessels who are approaching the area a couple of hours later or a day later. So this is something that we're starting to do with the data. Of course, super anonymized. No one knows, the information about the ship. It's just information about the environment.
When you say that you use this data as an owner, as your operator, and since Captain George said there are no charterers here, but when it comes to audits and inspections, I've heard that sire inspectors want to see that data. How many near misses you've had, and although the intention is to improve ourselves, but then as owners, we are obligated to show that data to third parties? No, right? Principally,
your decision,
no.
I don't.
Yeah,
we're not sharing any data of any of our customers without our customer permission.
But how do you say no to them? I mean, how do you say that I don't use that data or I don't want to show that data? It's a tricky situation there.
Well, if you go with that, right, so any TMSA submission or SIA submission, you submit the data. So you tell them what level and what you have. So if you have not mentioned Orca AI into your SMS, it's not, which you can say that as to level 3 or 4, and you can say that we have an additional navigation aid as Orca AI, and they can say, what does Orca AI do? And it is an additional aid. It's like putting an extra egg dish. Requirement is 2, but if you put 3, you don't have to go in. So I think that's the approach we would take, that you submit, you share with them that this is a good practice, which we have taken a proactive approach of testing a system which assists in navigation, but it is not a mandatory tool.
Of course.
So sharing on the near misses, I don't think we will. And so far, we have not been asked by any of them. We have shared not only Orca AI, we have a lot of other AI tools and other initiatives which we take on as an owner, which requires, say, CCTV, thermal cameras, AI to see the spills, go, no-go areas. So there are a lot of tools which I think at the moment today are being appreciated at that level, that, oh, you have done something about it, and we are like, yes, we have this tool, and it is in a stage where we are doing, and they would want to see that, okay, can you please show me the platform? How does it look? And they might pick one ship and say that, can you just show me what it does? And even if they find some high risk, and we have been going through this process with Captain Nabo and Orca AI team, that even though we have defined it at a high risk, right, the definition is yours. That criteria is set by us. And going forward, what Yardin today showed about the capabilities of navigation and having autonomous feedback. If you go autonomous, yes, then maybe you will be required. But I think today, they are still appreciative, and they might even commend you for your proactive approach on this. That's what we have felt so far.
Okay.
As far as you have, it doesn't matter if you have identified that near miss through Orca, radar, EGDIS, wherever. As far as you have identified and investigated and addressed it, they just can't do anything about it. So the chapter is closed. So yeah, so even if that person comes and show me Orca AI, this is a new thing, let me see. Then you say, I see this one, what about this one? If you can show it, finish. That's the end of it.
If I can add something, for the last few years that we have been using Orca, during TMSA, nobody asked us to see data. And effectively, if somebody would like to see some data, I would show him generalized data and nothing to be specifically connected to a vessel. We also have, of course, GDPR in Europe that helps a lot. The first thing we say is GDPR, forget it. But up to the moment, yes, they only ask whether we find it useful. And actually have worked with a couple of big oil companies, and they would like to know whether they can use it on their own fleet. And one is asking, was actually looking to ask for the time charter vessels that he has to use Orca. They look at it positively and not specific data.
All right, on that note, I have to say that the beers might be turning warm. So, yeah, it has been a fabulous discussion, and I think the conversations have just started. And we shall continue with the conversations right after this event, which is almost coming to a close. There will be canopies and drinks served outside. We can continue the conversations. With that, right, a few key takeaways to wrap this up. Firstly, you cannot take the human out of the loop. Right, the human in the loop is absolutely critical. And together with AI is what we call augmenting human capabilities. AI is here to augment our capabilities and our intelligence to raise safety standards and operational efficiency in maritime itself. So with that, I would like to thank all our panelists for sharing your pearls of wisdom, as well as the audience for being such an engaging audience. I didn't have to arrow anybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. And once again, thank you to the organizers, Orca AI and NorthStandard, for bringing us together as a maritime community. We welcome such engagements, and thank you for having me as well. And with that, have a good evening, and let's continue about augmenting human intelligence with AI capabilities as well, right outside. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.